Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ladies Power Lunch. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're talking about meditation. So many of us do have a meditation practice, while some of us do struggle with being able to quiet the mind and some of that sort of thing. And so I thought it would be fantastic to bring in an expert to talk to us about what it really takes to meditate. And here with us today, also on our Zoom call, is Anne Marie. So, Anne Marie, why don't we start with you? Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to our audience? Just say who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. I'm Anne-Marie Saratnik of AG Design. I'm a freelance graphic designer, and I work with mostly women entrepreneurs to help them to build a strong brand identity through print, logo design, and web graphics.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Josette, very happy to have you as our special guest today, talking about a topic that for many is a difficult one. Let's talk about meditation. Josette, welcome. Can you share with
Thank
our
you.
audience who you are and what it is that you do? Why I think that you're such an expert to come talk to us about this.
Well, I think expert is a compliment, but it's also a strong word, certainly. But my name is Josette Lumbruno, and I've been personally practicing since the mid 70s. Certainly on and off. I will say my practice always hasn't been consistent. But for the most part, it's been 40 plus years, 45 years, so to speak, which yesterday I turned 70. So I'm entering a whole new decade. Very excited.
Congratulations.
But for me, meditation kind of just fell into my lap back then. It was certainly the 70s, left over from the 60s, being a flower child, a hippie, all those labels that we actually put on ourselves. But I was living out of state at the time, and I met a woman who was a little bit older than myself, who had been practicing for a while. And she pretty much just introduced me to just breathing. And that kind of led to the whole idea of like, well, when you sit quietly, you focus on your breath, it's a meditative state. And I kind of just evolved over the years with that practice. And along the way, I did get certified to teach meditation and mindfulness. But it's basically a practice. And the reason why it's called a practice, because you have to practice at it. It doesn't come automatically, just like if you wanted to learn to play tennis. If you do it once a year, you're not going to be very good at it. So that's why I call it a meditation practice, because every day that you're doing your meditation, it's still a practice to get better at it. So that, first of all, I like to define when they say the word practice, it's ongoing. You don't just learn to meditate and then you never get any better at it. You always want to improve.
So you say that you started out with just focusing on your breathing. Tell us a little bit about what it was like for you in those early days of getting involved with meditation, because it might be very similar to what's happening with many of us, and we might not recognize that we're doing quite fine.
Right, and I like to think most people are doing quite fine. What I meant by breathing is we get so caught up in just our everyday life stuff that we really forget we have a breath inside of us. It's almost taken for granted. But when I was reintroduced to the fact that if you just take a second to pause and pay attention to where your breath is coming in from and exhaling from, it really makes a difference. You become present. And that's, to me, primarily the foundation of a meditation practice, is to be present, which easier said than done.
Sure, it's easier said than done. It definitely is, because I can, even just speaking from my personal experience with meditation, I can say that there is a tendency to want to think, your mind doesn't really feel like it wants to be quiet. It wants to think about making the list of the things that we have to do right after.
Correct.
It wants to go on to the next thing. And so being quiet can be a challenge for a lot of people. how can we get past that?
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because over the course of years teaching,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the students will say, well, I can't quiet my mind. I can't stop thoughts. And the first thing I like to reassure them is that it's not about stopping your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
That's never really going to happen. You know, as long as we're alive and a breathing human being, thoughts are always going to pop into our mind. It is more of when you're sitting practicing or just in everyday activities, it's the awareness that a thought popped into your mind and you followed that thought. For instance, you may be sitting quietly and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, I have to go to the grocery store. And once you realize you've gone someplace else, you go back to your breath. And the breath is what keeps you present. Like I say, it's easier said than done because our minds want to say, no, after you go to the grocery store, then you got to go get gas. I mean, it really wants to pull you into a different direction. So it's not about stopping your thoughts. It's the awareness of a thought. And you go back to your breath as often as needed. I mean, you can always begin again with the practice of meditation. It's not like, oh, darn, I've gone someplace else. Why might as well give up and do something else? It takes patience and almost some courage to sit alone with yourself.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's my perspective, how it's been for my practice all these years. I have found that some people have trouble just being selfish for maybe 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, whatever you're allowing yourself to meditate, because it truly means doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You really, think about it. You're sitting, whether you're sitting on a cushion, on a couch, or whatever where you're placing your body to meditate, you're really doing nothing. And that's hard. I found that's hard for a lot of people. They feel like they always have to be doing something, playing with their phone, folding laundry, making a list, or reading, but just to sit and do nothing can be a challenge for a lot of people.
So what would you suggest that we do? What are some of the things that we can do to really have a robust practice? And why is it even important for us to be focusing on meditation?
Well, there's a few different things. One, how to, to focus on meditation to me is like giving yourself permission or allowing yourself to be quiet. And I do think some people have trouble allowing themselves to be quiet. And I think it can be a selfish practice if you look at it that way, that it's my time just to sit and be quiet and reflect on feelings, not necessarily judging those feelings or questioning, where they're coming from, but just to experience it. And I think that's a big part of meditation practice. And I'm sorry, what was your other question?
My other question was, what can we do to be better at it?
Well, first of all, to be better at it, I think you need to remind yourself, number one, why you want to meditate.
Why do we want to meditate?
Important to remember that, because some people want to meditate because they're anxious,
Mm-hmm.
they have anxiety issues, they feel stress, they're always worrying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you can remember why you want to start a practice, it helps you to develop it, helps you to maintain it on a regular basis. Because for me, I think the Western culture looks at meditation differently than the Eastern culture. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years. This is nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
But, through readings and just research, really meditation back then and thousands of years ago was really for a spiritual reason. I don't think it was about like, okay, I have a stressful day at work, I need to sit and meditate. But it seems like how it came over to the Western culture, our world here, we use it as a release, to relieve stress, to sleep better,
Mm-hmm.
less anxiety, which is not a bad thing. It's just interesting that, and I've taught hundreds of people, when I generally ask, why now did you decide to practice, to learn this? It's all stress, 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 stress. Rarely, I think once or twice, someone said, "Oh, just to get to know myself better, to broaden my spiritual practice." It's always about stress, which I think is sad.
Yeah, but it's also basically part of the way we live our lives now. We're always going, we're always doing, we're always pushing. It's sort of like life has become for us an uphill struggle or a battle, if you will. And so I think anything that people can find to give them some relief from the stresses of the world in general is definitely welcome. And so even though, and it's interesting to me because even though a lot of people do come to meditation because they're looking for stress relief, they may find other benefits from it as well. So it's, part of the way you get there, but definitely getting there is the thing. So what about, clients that you've had or um, people who have worked with you? What sort of benefits have they gotten from adding meditation
Sure.
to their practice, adding it to part of their life?
I have a couple of examples. One, to this day, I think about pretty often. A couple of years ago, I had an attorney taking it's a 6-week course I teach. And he came the first week, we talked about what the practice is all about. We did a meditation. It was about 20 minutes long. And when it was done, I always ask everyone, what their experience was, because pretty much it's always the first time for everybody when they're taking this class. And when I came to this gentleman, he said, I got really scared. Interesting. I've never heard that before. I said, could you share that with us? And he did. He said, my mind got really quiet. And he never came back to the class.
Interesting.
Yeah. To this day, I think of all people, he probably maybe being an attorney, and I'm not really sure what kind of attorney he was, but to me, there's an example of someone who really probably could benefit from the practice. If he got startled or scared, that his mind got quiet, to me, that's a red flag saying, whoa. And to this day, I just wonder, like, maybe it was the wrong time. Not everyone's ready when they start the practice. But to be scared, that was the first time I've ever heard that reaction. And I also had a gentleman who, actually, I've had a few engineers take the course, but this one particular engineer, first class, I could almost tell, like, back my, why is he even here? He didn't seem receptive. You could just tell by body language. He was in there, but he was like, okay, this is like.
How did he come to be one of your students?
Well, it was advertised in town, and he took the course.
Okay.
And from my knowledge of engineers, they're pretty practical. They're black and white, right or wrong because of their business, their line of work. And after about maybe 3 weeks, halfway into it, he actually said, I think this is working. And he explained to the group, he said, normally if I'm going to a meeting, a conference, I'm ready. He's all tight body language. And he said he took a minute just to breathe. And he went into the meeting and he was less reactive. He was more present. It wasn't like he was waiting to, have this conversation with somebody else. He really listened. And I think by the end of the 6 weeks, he was really getting it. It's a gray world. I mean, this isn't really right or wrong. It's your own practice. Everyone does it differently. So I felt good about that, especially I think this came after the attorney one because it's like, I just don't get that at all. And I also have a student for about 4 or 5 years now. He has cerebral palsy. He's confined to a wheelchair ever since birth. He was born with this affliction. And he's amazing. But I interviewed him actually for an article that was posted a couple of years ago. And he said meditation is the only thing he can do by himself.
Interesting.
Because he needs someone to help him eat, cut his food. I mean, he speaks, but you really have to listen. But his muscles, he really has not much control over that. So no matter anything he needs help doing. but meditation, he can sit there and do it on his own, which he's like 40 years old. To me, that's a kid at this point in my life. But, and I thought that was wonderful that he realized he can do this by himself, and it really made him feel good. You know, he wasn't dependent. So I've had teachers, nurses, people from all walks of life. People, I just finished a session with a couple of 8-year-olds.
8-year-olds.
8-year-olds. And that was amazing. The little boy, we're talking. First of all, I said, you know, do you know what meditation is? He goes, yes. He goes, you sit there with your legs crossed and you go like this. And you go,
Oh,
I thought that was hysterical. I
the
mean,
cutest.
it was like, and he really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And this other little girl as well, she was into it. She was a little more fidgety, but he would sit really quietly and do the whole thing. But that was interesting. I thought that an 8-year-old would have that interpretation. And he said to calm, you know, you use it to calm your mind, which is true. We talked a lot about, you know, when you're 8 years old, if you have a sibling that's needling you all day long or something, it's good to learn how to calm yourself and, you know, be present with your breath. So I've had people such a wide range. And I said, I probably never practiced the 6 weeks. Was it the right time for them? Don't say to them, practice in any practice.
I really like what you're sharing with us. I'm enjoying that, and I've been taking a couple of notes here. I'm enjoying that mindfulness and meditation can help you to reduce your anxiety. And in the stressed out world that we live in, that's definitely something that most of us, if not all of us, need. And those of us who feel like we don't have enough time for it probably need it the most. I love that you've been able to work with people who may have been not so in tune to slowing down and who may have been more on that black and white side. And I mean, for an engineer, you really do want them to be black and white, especially when you're driving over the bridge that they just built.
Right.
You know, you definitely want them to be in that sort of mindset, but also to be able to bring them back and give them some downtime. I love that it's something that you can do for yourself, even if you need help doing everything else. You can do meditation without help from anybody else. And I love that it seems like it's something that anybody at any age can take advantage of. Even your 8-year-olds are enjoying the benefits of meditation. And it's making me think that perhaps I might try to see if my little ones might be interested in us trying to have a meditation session. That'll be hilarious. I'll let you guys know. Maybe we'll do it live because I'm pretty sure it's going to go off the rails very quickly.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting with the little ones because, first of all, rather than I don't do a 20-minute, I do like a 5 or 6 minute actually meditation with them. And I just try to relate to, like, you know, maybe somebody at school was annoying you, or, you know, you wanted to do something and you weren't allowed to do it, so you got frustrated. Emotions, things that they could relate to, and just explain when you feel that way. Put your hand where you're feeling it in your body. You know, if you're feeling or put your hand where you're feeling your breath. It's one thing to say breathe, but where you're feeling it, put your hand there. And that's physical. They can relate to that. And then we would do 5 or 6 minute meditation. I'd be speaking on and off with them during that. So they don't, who knows, where they go off to. But it's really no different for an adult either. It's the same kind of thing. Where are you feeling that stress? Do you feel angst any place? Bring your attention there. Breathe there. I like to remind people of a couple of things, that meditation isn't necessarily what you gain. It's not what you gain from meditation. It's really what you let go of.
Okay.
You could let go of the stress, the anxiety, trouble sleeping, let go of maybe some painful feelings of forgiveness, But I mean, I think you gain loving kindness, compassion, being much more open to other people's feelings. But generally it's what you can finally let go of, because when you let go of that stuff, your heart with what you need, which is loving kindness and joy and compassion. So when you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, I don't need that stuff. It's only causing me physical harm, emotional harm. You know, half full, half empty again, but I said it's easier said than done because I've been doing it a long time. So I recognize in myself, and I've also referred to people, think of it as your spiritual vitamin.
Oh, I like
You know,
that.
if you have a medication you take every day to feel better physically,
Mm-hmm.
if you think of this as your spiritual vitamin or prescription, you're more apt to take it every day. And when I do teach in person, I haven't been able to this past year, but I always give everybody a stone. They come in all shapes and sizes, and I pass them all out. And I say, something magical about the stone, but I want you to place it somewhere that's going to remind you to meditate. You know, near your toothbrush, you know, near your alarm clock, wherever you're going to see it during the day, because we do forget, we get caught up in stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that hopefully will trigger, oh, you know, I want to meditate, not I have to, or well, you may need to.
You do.
But you want to do it. You know, we
Yes.
have enough stuff on our to-do list. This is on your I want to do list. And they get it. You know, it's a treat for yourself.
A treat for yourself. I
I
like
think
that.
it is. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, if you can steal away between, I don't know, 5 and 20 minutes once a day, 3 or 4 times a week, sit quietly, light a candle, put some incense, have some nice meditation music. I think it's like everyone should have to do that once a day. I mean, to me, that's just like, it's a given. I'm a morning person, so I
Okay.
do that practice in the morning. I've just been working with this older woman recently, and she does before she goes to bed at night.
Okay.
And I encourage not to lay down because you can fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's your practice. You know, it's important that you find the time that's quiet in your home, that you can do this uninterrupted, if possible.
Do you have any resources or technology or books that we could read or anything that could support us as we try to get better at meditation?
Sure. I've studied and gone to quite a few workshops with, I don't know if you're familiar with Sharon Salzberg.
Mm-hmm.
She's a meditation teacher. Any of her books, Sharon Salzberg, especially the one she's called Loving Kindness, which is amazing. There are plenty of meditation apps out there. The one that I always recommend, one, because it's free, but it's called Insight Timer,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a fabulous app because it can give you great music. There are guided meditations on it, and you can time it, because sometimes people say, oh, I only have, 8 minutes in the morning to do this. Fine. You set your timer for 8 minutes. You don't have to worry about looking at a clock or, how much time is left, because there's different chimes
Mm-hmm.
that will end when the meditation is over. You want to have it, if you're going to practice, you don't want it to be stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I going over the time that I'm allotted for myself? If you have a time restraint. There's tons of meditation books out there. I do have a list. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Well, you can feel free to share the list in the Facebook group. I'm sure, you have, because you've been studying this for so many years, you have so many resources.
I do. I have a bookcase
will-
over here. I'm looking at them. And anything by Eckhart Tolle,
Yep.
certainly people are familiar with who he is.
Mhm.
There's just so many. My whole thing is just take it one breath at a time, so to speak.
Yeah.
Don't set yourself up, say, I'm going to sit for a half hour. Well, that's probably not going to happen. Give yourself 5 or 6 minutes if you're just starting out, so you can feel good about your practice. Because we have enough stuff that we maybe shortchange ourselves. And with meditation, you want to take it easy, start off slow. And if you're at that 5 or 6 minute point and you're ready, you think, oh, I think I'm done. I usually say, give yourself 1 more minute. And sometimes that one more minute goes to another 5 minutes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just feel, to me, it's like, I'm a runner. So if I'm running, I say, oh, I just can't go any further. I'll say, okay, I'm just going to run just to that stop sign or just to that tree, a little bit further. And you get past that hurdle. It's like that wall, so to speak. So I think it's very similar with the meditation practice. Be kind, be patient. Give yourself the freedom to make a mistake, if you even want to call it a mistake, that maybe you're sitting there and you really can't settle your mind. Then I say, stop. Try it another time. Again, and sometimes it's not the right time. Maybe you have things you need to do, then do them. And then go back to your practice when you have time to sit quietly. That would probably be my biggest advice to anyone trying to do it.
I like that advice. I like that advice a lot. So do you have any upcoming events that we can all be a part of?
I do have ongoing classes.
Okay.
And my website is calmmindmeditation.com.
Okay. I'm going to
And
drop
I'm there.
that in the chat. Calm
Mind meditation.
Calm mind
Meditation.
meditation.
Yeah. And on there, yeah, it explains how I practice, how I instruct, teach meditation. And there's a section for kids, a section for adults with, the courses that are coming up. And I'm always available for some people. Buy a gift certificate for someone. I just had one recently. Someone bought a gift certificate and we did a few classes with that person. You can do a one-up, so to speak. Some people just want to try it rather than committing themselves to a 4-week session. I think it takes more than one time to really grasp the benefits of it. And I'm open to doing just single sessions if someone's not comfortable in a group situation, which I like group meditation. I like the energy again, but not being in person, it's different.
I have a question for you, kind
Sure.
of putting you on the spot here, but why would somebody want to meditate with a guru as opposed to just meditating on their own?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if I know how to answer that. I pretty much over the years have practiced on my own, but I've gone to, I don't want to say a guru, but I've gone to like 8-hour workshops where I sit there with somebody who is a Buddhist instructor to help with my practice. But I don't think you need to have any formal training to learn to meditate, which kind of takes away the fact that I'm trying to teach it to somebody. But I do think there's enough information out there that you can just learn to do it on your own, which is how I started. I just got more involved in it. I wanted to legitimize my practice. So if someone asked, and I went through training, I kind of think I know what I'm talking about, only from my own experience. That's all you ever really have is your own experience. Everyone's practice is different. But I like group meditation because I think everybody helps everybody else.
I like the idea of the group meditation from the point of view of the vibration and everybody kind of raising their energy. I think that is a really, really great benefit. And I think that for people who might be struggling with the idea of meditation, but they want to try, or people who may have tried meditation in the past, but they found it difficult, working with somebody like you, Josette, might be exactly what they might need. So I wouldn't sell myself short.
No, I do think, as a matter of fact, this woman who I was just, this morning was our last session. I asked her, I said, she's older than me, so she's older, certainly. But I said, has anybody noticed any difference? And she said her husband has noticed difference, that she's calmer and not as like this all day long, which is why it was a gift to her from her daughter-in-law. So yeah, people do. I do think it's a trickle-down effect.
Yes.
I think we all know toxic people and we don't like to be around them. We feel that negative energy. And I do think you have a practice, you're more present. You do become kinder. I think that's probably over the years. is at least I'm aware that I should be kinder to people. I mean, everyone has someone that just puts the screws to you, and I don't care how kind you try to be. Sometimes your reaction isn't how you would like it to be, but I think the common denominator in every group I've ever had is we all want to be happy.
We all want to be happy. That's the bottom line. That's the reason why we do everything that we do. Like, I can't think of anything that falls outside of this description.
Yeah, we all want to be happy. And in group meditation, how they help each other is because somebody may have been struggling the week before, maybe with so many distractions. And someone will say, well, this is what I did when I had some distractions.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, I only got to meditate once a week. Okay. That's one more than you didn't do maybe the week before. It's a real positive environment, I think, a group meditation can be, at least from my experience. The biggest takeaway is don't sell yourself short. It's not about stopping your thoughts. People really, I think, need to understand that, because that's, again, what I hear a lot. I can't stop my thoughts. Well, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Just throw that out the window. It's the awareness that you've gone someplace else when you want to be present. And we use our breath. It's right here. It's always with you. You don't have to buy any equipment, no special shoes, no uniform. You always have your breath with you.
You always have your breath with you.
Right.
And I think that's a perfect spot to end it on. Today is Free Gift Friday, and we'd love to give our viewers and our listeners today a gift. What would you like to give some lucky listener today, Josette?
I'd be more than willing to give a couple of free meditation sessions, about 20-25 minutes long each, to talk about the practice, to get them started. So I'm not, however that wants to be handed out, I'm not really sure of that process.
So I'm going to invite you to go ahead and choose a number between 1 and 7.
Okay. One number, 5.
Okay. And our winning participant today is joining us over on our Facebook group, and that is Linda. So Linda, thank you so much for joining us, and you are today's Free Gift Friday winner. And I'm going to drop a comment in the post on Facebook connecting you both so that you can claim your prize.
Terrific.
Awesome.
Look forward to it.
This is a really great conversation, and I feel as though meditation is something that we could all keep talking about, because it's something that we all need so much, and very many of us maybe struggle with a little bit. So I'm looking forward to having you back on the show at some point.
Absolutely.
So we can talk about this some more.
Sure.
Anne-Marie, thank you so much for joining us over here today as well. I hope you found value. To everybody who joined us over on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody. And I'll see you on the next show. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.